So today I'm going to attempt to install a shower liner, which is something I have never done before. It sounds fairly easy when you look at existing videos on YouTube, but I feel like I'm going to run into some challenges. So we're going to see how this goes, and I will teach you all the mistakes not to make. So here's the liner. It's a thick piece of plastic, and it can come, you can buy it as like a folded version, but when I got that and I unfolded it, I immediately thought, well, this is definitely not going to work. This thing is never going to sit flat on my pre-slope. You can tell, I mean, it's just never going to sit flat with that existing folded shape. So I actually went back to the store and, brought this one back, and they actually sent another version which is rolled, and I figured that this would be much better. The first step of installing the liner is to cut a separate piece which is going to roll over the curb. So you just have to measure the height of the curb from each sides and just cut the appropriate sized piece of liner. You can then place it into place. I mean, it's a little bit difficult to bend because, again, it's a fairly thick plastic, which is good. That's the point, so that it doesn't puncture that easily. And then you can staple it into place, putting staple both on the inside, outside, and on the top. And there's no worries about making holes in it right now because when we put the rest of it, it will go over this, and so there's no worries about those staples being where they are right now. And so now was the time to tackle the bigger piece of liner, which is going to go inside the shower. So first of all, you have to decide how much you want to go up the walls. I decided that I would go 8 inches. That sounded pretty good. To know exactly the size of liner you're going to need, you simply add up all those dimensions. So you have the height that it goes up the wall, then the width of the shower, then the height of the curb from the inside, then the width of the curb, and then the height of the curb from the outside. And that is your total width of liner you will need, which is 51.5 inch in my situation. And then for the width, it's simply the width of the shower, which is 60 inches plus 8 inches on each side going up the walls. So that's 76 inches total. So once you've marked and cut the liner to the right size, what you're going to want to do is that you will want to mark a line at 8 inches, which is what it's going to go up the walls. And you will have to carefully fold those pieces in because that's going to be required to pretty much install the liner in the shower without it being a mess. So you start by doing the two sides, and then you fold that last corner on itself, sort of, and that will allow you to install and place the liner into the shower, and it will fit much better. So then you kind of try and place it where it should be, right into the corners, and kind of see if this fits properly and if you folded it the right way. After that, you want to cut the liner exactly at the location of the screws on top of your drain. So you're really just making little X's so that you can push those screws through the liner, and then you cut a big hole exactly where the hole of the drain is. Obviously, you're going to want to be extra careful so that you don't puncture the liner anywhere else. After that, you're going to want to grab some 100% silicone, and the reason for that is that you're going to pull the liner out, and you're going to put silicone on the base of the drain directly between the little screws that you see sticking out. And the whole reason for that is that we're going to place the silicone, and then you'll see that we then fold the liner back over it. And then there is a clamp mechanism that will be installed to clamp the liner directly onto the drain and pretty much make it completely water sealed, with the help of the silicone we also placed. Then I went ahead and stapled the liner, but be careful, only staple it all the way at the top. You don't want to create punctures low into the liner, or otherwise it's kind of defeating the purpose of it being waterproof. So here's one of the major mistakes that I will realize later in time I did.
Oh, le bordel que ça va être!
In order to keep everything waterproof, you cannot cut anything at the corners, so you have to fold it onto itself and adhere it using special pine liner adhesive. So just one word of advice, that thing is extremely pungent, so be careful about breathing too much of it.
Oh putain! Oh putain! Oh, c'est solide ça. The problem now is that we have so much thickness here. I can already tell you it's going to be a problem once I try and install the backer bone. But I don't know what else to do. It's too late now.
And yes, my prediction was absolutely correct. I mean, you can tell I'm adding almost 3/16 of an inch of thickness at those corners. And yes, this is going to be a big deal when I try and install the backer bolt later on. So let's move on with the rest of the liner installation. The front corners are quite challenging. I'm following the manufacturer's installations instruction, but in their instruction, they're kind of like really not giving you a lot of advice as far as how to fold that corner properly. So yeah, I wasn't sure. I honestly wasn't sure how to do it. So I kind of wrestled with it and try to come up with something that seemed fine. I think as long as you're not puncturing, below, as long as you're being very careful where you make your cuts and that you don't puncture low enough that it would become a potential leak spot, then I think you're fine to kind of do whatever seems fine. But you can see, like, I was really checking their installation video, kind of trying to decipher what they did, but it really wasn't clear. I think I kind of like came up to something that was decent. I was just left with this little knob here, which I wasn't sure what to do with, and then I realized that I could actually just fold it on the inside, and then voila, I kind of ended up with a corner that to me looked really decent. So I went on with it, did the same thing on the other side, and then using a lot of glue, and this time wearing my respirator because I didn't want it to just pass out in this cabin, you pretty much go over and fold completely that liner over the curb, making it 100% waterproof. And this time you only put your staple on the outside because obviously you don't want to create any sort of penetration on the inside. And then the last step is to install those corner reinforcement, because obviously at the top of the curb you still have a little area which is not completely watertight, so they give you those corners to install a specifically there. And yeah, you just glue them in place, hold them for a second, and they're just stuck there. And so you do that on each side of the curb, and that's pretty much it. That is the liner installation. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, obviously now I have to test it and make sure that it is watertight, because otherwise I just did something for, I just installed this thing for no reason. So let's see if it is actually watertight. So while you watch me filling this thing with water and maybe whirling a little bit, something you need to know is that based on your county or city requirement, if you're building your shower from scratch like I'm showing you, you will potentially need to get it inspected. In my county, the inspector wants to come and check the liner and make sure that it is 100% waterproof before I can move forward with my shower construction. So right now I was doing kind of a little test before, I even called the inspector. So you will have to check with your local county or town how much water they want to see. I think it's about maybe 2 inches at the drain. And then also how long does the test need to last for. I think in my county, they want to make sure that even after a few hours, the water level has not gone down, and also that there is no other signs of leakage either under the cabin or around the shower area. So that's what I did. I left it alone for a few hours, and I kind of inspected thoroughly all the framing around the cabin, under it, and around. And honestly, it seemed like I was not having any issues. So it looked like I was fine. I decided that I would empty it, and I'll fill it back again once I get the inspector to actually come and inspect it. But I really wanted to show you something quite interesting, is that when you actually empty it, you get to a point where you see the water is just like dripping at the back of it, and that is actually showing you the whip holes, because that's how the system works. There's still little whip holes that you can see there, which will let the waters run from the liner into the drain without going over the drain. And so that's the whole point of this liner, is that if any moisture or water gets caught on the liner, theoretically it's supposed to find its way down the liner into this whip hole into the drain. So we are a few weeks later. The inspector came. I had filled the shower again with about 2 inches of water, and yeah, he looked around. He didn't find any signs of leaks, so he was able to pass me for the liner inspection of my shower pen, which is great news. And so off I am to keep working on it. And so in the next episode, we will see how I will install the Go ball, which is a different kind of backer ball, and you will see how much of a struggle I will have with installing it, because I have that corner of the liner that's creating so much thickness at my corners. So you will see that I had to get a little creative and try to find a way around this to make it work. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.